answer all your questions. If you have any doubts, anything that you would like to revise upon, and I want to, of course, take you all through certain pointers for group facilitation, right? And I want to know if anybody does want to practice, if you want to go ahead, then we can do that also today, right? So I've kept space for that. Would anybody like to go as therapist? But first, I'll cover some of the discussion and the pointers, etc. Then we'll go ahead. So let me know.
Suniti, I wanted to ask if there's some space right now for questions.
Yes, yes, there is space right now for questions. So we can begin that. Whatever queries you have, any doubts, anything you want me to revise, any point to touch upon, I will do that.
Okay, so may I go ahead?
Yes, yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so I had shared with you last time that I had paired up with Harpreet,
Mhm.
where I was therapist,
Yes.
um, and we had from what experience she shared with me and what I also was able to share with her, we had a really good session.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I have a doubt in that rests in my capacity
Okay.
as presenting as therapist in that session.
Mm-hmm.
So I began with a grounding,
Mm-hmm.
and we were able to touch upon whatever the presenting issue or point of exploration was, and
Mm-hmm.
we went through an exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and where I feel lost is I think I was able to hold presence and space, but I'm not sure what techniques I used apart from grounding because of the flow of the session.
Okay, okay.
Like if I had to describe it to somebody, I can't say we did in a child, or I can't say we did this or that. We definitely used somatic work. We definitely did grounding. We did some breath work. Uh, but I can't articulate what it is that I did as a therapist, but it worked. So that's what is a little confusing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And Harpreet, please feel free to jump in. I know that Harpreet and I also were texting about this, but I thought it'll be better to ask here.
Yeah.
And happy that she's here. She can also jump in.
Sabri, can you share your
Yeah.
points?
Hi, Smriti. Yeah.
Hi.
So, well, while we were in the session as such, so what happened before the session itself, I think every person has its own modality to work on, right? So, since I'm from an Akasha reading background, ICH, cord cutting, all that clustered together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what happened? The topic that we chose, and I'll be very frank, it's the authoritative wound, which, my brother, he's like way too, the youngest brother, where he was way too loud to me and everything. And what happened in the same session, the same day, something of that sort happened with me at home.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, when that happened, I was able to read my Akasha there and then exactly where is it connecting through my previous lives and everything, right? And this is something exactly what I have done to him in my previous life as a father, and where he was my son,
Okay.
where my wife died. So, all that bit. So, what happened in this session? There was a work that was already being done in the same evening before the session. But when I joined the session, I think it was just that one little bit which was left. That
Mm-hmm.
connect जो होता है ना जो थोड़ा सा एक वो रह गया.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
like, she was holding the space, Ophelia was holding that space, that grounding work, everything. And so when it comes to her saying that, whether it was an ICH which I did, whether it was the grounding work, like, what exactly did I do for her to actually feel relieved out of that entire process?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So with me, I think what really worked through was that there was this. See, I never had one-on-one session wherein anybody could actually do one-on-one with me as a person, because during the healing process, it's always me who is healing myself with my Guruji, all that spiritual point of view. So this was the first time that someone, as a person who has come, and worked as a therapist with me, right? So even that one little thing from her side, she held that space, she held that energy for me, and it just made it just, I think it was just sorted. I
Mm,
was relieved. She made me to do the writing work, and while I was writing the letter to that particular challenge that I was facing, by the time she could say that, what are the inputs coming, like she didn't say that what are the inputs coming from the challenge towards you. All of
mm,
a sudden, it was so channelized that the pain, the challenge, it started to tell me exactly what is it that it wanted me to do. How
mm,
is it going to be happy? How is it going to be relieved and everything, all that bit. So altogether, it worked beautifully. I
mm,
was relieved. I was happy, right? So मैं कई बार ये सोचती हूँ कि it's not that modality which helps you, it's the energy that the therapist is holding, that space he or she is holding for you, that works through.
mhm,
And I
mm,
even believe that कहीं ना कहीं therapist के साथ भी आपका कोई ना कोई karmic account होता है. So she or he has to play that one little role in your life,
mhm.
and then you feel that वो the हल्का सा वो जो minute point था, it gets sorted. So
Yeah.
that's exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I want to just confirm Ophelia's question. Is it that what modality would have worked, or without doing specific steps, also she was able to sort of experience some sort of catharsis plus integration? Is it that?
Yeah, it's the latter.
Okay, okay. That's
Yeah.
because she had already worked with her system, which she has revealed. Number two is that, when I don't know which class I mentioned this, or I'm not sure if I mentioned it in this class or another course, because there's another one running parallelly. And it's easier to work with coaches or healers or therapists, counselors, simply because we come with a level of awareness, understanding. There's already a lot of inner reflection, introspection that we've done, so when you engage or initiate an exploratory conversation, tabhi you will see that it can move along really fast, right? So remember in the demo last time when you were the client, and I had given a suggestion that instead of directly diving into an exercise, how about we spend 5 to 7 minutes or 10 minutes just having a conversation to slowly initiate the process to go into the grounding also. Because when you are working with a client who's a lay person, then it's not very easy, right? Because their system might be resistant to going into any flow, any method. So this is basically the crux of the matter, where a lot of the times it's not a particular strategy or a method that we do. Sometimes a deep conversation where there is enough space for self reflection, there is enough space to feel emotional. If I want to cry, I can. If I want to express it aggressively, I can. I'm just being heard and seen, and somebody is listening to me in a way where they're able to gently nudge me forward instead of me feeling stuck. I think that itself is really helpful. This is actually talk therapy in a sense, because you are not employing anything specific. Even it's not even specific mindset work, maybe, right? It's a combination of various approaches that is there in your mind, and you're gently nudging them towards an exploration, catharsis, and let's say closing of whatever was experienced that day, to sort of make peace with it. So yeah, it's okay. It's just that I would have liked to see you as therapist, but also Harpreet, I would have liked to see it. Then I think I can give more specific pointers. And of course, you can ask me for help if you feel stuck with anything. But I think this is the answer I can give. Might not have been the case if she had not worked with it earlier. Might not have been the case if she was not a coach or a healer.
Mm. Yeah.
Different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you, Harpreet, for jumping in.
Welcome. Okay. Um, I can see Pratna's hand is raised. Yes, Pratna, you can ask me.
Hi, Suniti. So,
Hi,
because
are you okay?
I'm okay, I don't know, I just hurt my wrist somewhere. I'm not able to twist or do anything. I'm not able to eat, so I've just been resting up.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. So now, because Harpreet brought the topic of Akashic record, so this is a question that's been in my head for a very long time. There are a lot of people, I don't know if this is, I'm coming from a point of a therapist, but it's a very general question. There are a lot of people who do have a lot of trauma, but don't have any knowledge about all of these things, but are still kind of living a good life. On the other side, there are people who kind of try to find out what has happened in the past or whatever through Akashic records or past life regression and all of it. And there is another side where, all of these manifestation coaches, they come into play and say, like, it's okay, you can heal your mother wound, father wound, and everything with just your thoughts and all of it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is somewhere I kind of do have I wouldn't say a fight, but I have these contradicting thoughts
Mm-hmm.
as to how does it work. Like, there are people who have no knowledge but have gone through absolute deep shit but are still living a good life. Like, the narcissists are in the highest level of self-love and everything. They have the riches, a lot of them that I know of. Like, they have it all. There's so much, they're all about them, and they are having it.
Mm-hmm.
Done no work. And on the flip side, I'm seeing a lot of these people. As a therapist, I'm able to see that, okay, somewhere, this unavailable, unavailable partner is coming from their father or your mother. Even if you take my case, I didn't have my father. So I've constantly been attracting emotionally unavailable men. I'm able to logicalize it with this. But the moment you come to manifestation, they're like, you push everything away, just have these thoughts. Um, let it be a no-brainer, don't have any of these things, you can still manifest. So I'm kind of having this conflict of thoughts over here. Can you help me or throw some light on that? How do we go about it? Like, for example, Harpreet just said, I did Akashik and found out what was the reason. Do we take all of that into consideration, or do we have to just look at the present thing? Like, is it just going to your generation, your parents, your grandparents, just over there? When do we have to reach what? When do we have to see what?
Oh, so your the question I'm confused with. The question is that at which point do we focus on what is necessary?
That is one. And see, the problem is I'm not even able to frame the question. Like, it is like, I feel this is
I,
also
I
right.
I want to understand is it like if trauma work is so necessary, how come some people don't need it? Is it that?
If trauma work is so necessary, if there is so much of deep-seated thing,
Mm-hmm.
people who have no knowledge about all of it and still have been through a lot of shit and with just manifestation, blah, 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 they're still good to go and having like a sorted life.
Mm-hmm. How does
And
that happen?
we sometimes we get into, and sometimes we get into ICH, find out where is it,
Mm,
coming from and all of it. And on the flip side, we have things like Akashic reading. We go to the books, find out if it is something from the past or whatever has happened.
So,
Right.
um,
So,
so see, one answer I want to give is that whatever method or approach is available or exists for a reason, because each of them are helping us not only to resolve something, but also to take us forward in a direction that we would like to go. So if you look at trauma work, right, it helps you go downward in a way where you keep going back into the roots. But if you are looking at more mindset based manifestation work, it's more of a upside pillar triangle. You can think of it like that. Okay, I'm not saying that's the case, but आप उसको वैसे view कर सकते हो, where we are not wanting to look so much into the roots of why, but focusing on like what can be done, what can be focused upon, what can be prioritized, what can be objectively followed, repeated, so that it can make shifts come. Now, the thing is that it's always going to be a different story for different people, right? For example, some people will not need trauma work. There are many. In fact, if you go to look at them, maybe the population is in hundreds and thousands. Okay. Now, the reason could be that the areas in life which are visible to us, they don't have any specific event that has shaped them in a particular way, right? Or is going on. Most often, we don't know what is the reality of their life. When we are talking about manifestation, also, a lot of people, if you see the whole approach to manifestation is also changing. It is becoming trauma focused. It is becoming trauma informed because a lot of the times what people are saying is applicable, but it's not permanent. It's not, you know, it's temporary, for the lack of a better word. Like, let's say you want to focus on having a particular amount of money for the month, and then you are able to get it. But what after that? Does it repeat every month? Does it leave you burnt out? Do you manifest a client, but then kaisa client manifest kiya? Is there other problems that you are facing? Right? So a lot of things where people who are teaching manifestation might or might not go into the depth of it, Pratna. That's the first
Hmm.
point here. Okay. Another thing I wanted to say, that a lot of the times the people's life that we see are the type of life that they want us to see.
Can you give
For
me a better,
example, let's
can
say
you
somebody who has, I think I was speaking with this to about with Payal about this. Okay, yesterday, no, Payal, we were talking about it. Okay, when people have anger issues, it will be very difficult to work with them because they don't see the anger as a problem. In fact, the anger
Hmm.
gets things done. It helps them set the boundary. It helps them have their position. तो वो उसको as a problem नहीं देखते. So they will never come to sort it or work on it. Right? As a therapist, you or me, we may observe that, this person is having these issues, but they have to see it. Okay. Number two, a lot of the times people show the life that they want us to see. You have to
Hmm.
look at these experiences of whether trauma work is impactful, or whether mindset and manifestation work is impactful, with a pinch of salt. Let's say somebody comes to you
Hmm.
with a lot of issues of, like, I'm having this problem, that problem. They are also showcasing the victim side, no?
Hmm.
They are, right? Because in this context, in this conversation, that is more important to them. But you will see the same people
Hmm.
be extremely confident, strong, and assertive in their communication, in their body language, and how they're taking action in some other context of their life. Right? Sometimes people will say, "Oh, I've manifested this, I've manifested that," but sadly, it's not really true. Okay, so we have to look at
Hmm.
it from a pinch of salt, that, let's say somebody has been able to achieve something, what has gone behind it, rather than looking at, like, oh, uska wo bhi hai, right? So, for example, like, I feel I have predominantly worked on many areas around my relationship, but that doesn't mean that I don't have issues with my relationship. I still have certain difficulties when it comes to my in-laws, and I think it's also because my mother had the same. But I don't see it as a point of issue to really dive into at the moment. Maybe later, maybe when I'm thinking of children and when their involvement is even more in depth, maybe then it is a concern for me.
Hmm.
So what is a concern at what point will also be important. So I think I've mentioned this before कि context भी बहुत जरूरी है. कुछ चीजें अभी
Hmm. Hmm.
problematic
Hmm.
नहीं लगती, बाद में हो सकती है, or it might be the opposite. Things may change, right?
Oh.
The other question is that
Hmm.
what should we do when, like, should we go for inner child? Should we go for mindset work? Should we go for Akashic or ancestral? There is no fixed answer as such, because in my experience, that has to do a lot with, like, what you as a healer or a therapist or a coach, what is your alignment with? And it's good to be polarized, guys. That means it's a good thing if you are focused on one particular area. Let's say you are focused on the healing. Sometimes we want to learn all, do all. Okay, I've done that. I have tried to learn all, do all. So if you see me, there are a lot of methods that I know. I can teach you way more than what I'm covering right now, but I don't feel that it is necessary. Okay, so you can desire to learn all and apply all, but it's not going to help 100% because not everybody will need everything. Okay, so you have to
Hmm.
have like an intuitive eye, Pratna, right? So let's say somebody is
Hmm.
working with you for a long time and you've helped them with the inner child ancestral, but there is still something that's keeping them stuck, so we may have to
Hmm.
either see that, okay, maybe it's in their body, right? And it's got to do with their nervous system being dysregulated in a sense whenever the particular thing comes up and they get triggered. So to help them not only look at their past wounds or the stories of their family which is inherited and sort of giving it back, but also look at their own body, their own reactivity, you know and it could go beyond it. It could be that there is an overall life pattern that doesn't seem to have an answer anywhere. So sometimes these things are based on exploration, बहुत एक्सप्लोर करने के बाद होता है.
Okay.
Sometimes it's based on what attracts whom. Let's say if I am a somatic therapist, I'm talking about somatic therapy, you're talking about inner child, Harpreet's talking about Akashic, and then let's say Ophelia is a client, and she's listening to all three, but then she might feel more attuned or pulled to one particular person or what they are having to say, right? So in my understanding, whether you are looking at a particular thing from whichever lens, right, it's got to do with your own personal resonance. Kitna resistance hai nahi hai, what do you believe in also. You might have been in an environment where you do believe in therapy and mindset work, and you do believe in belief systems governing our lives, and there could be others for whom it's like, help me understand it logically, then I'll believe you, right? For many others, it's got to do with like how it feels for me because they've been around this for some time or they have some exposure to it. तो बहुत सारी चीजें matter करती है. I don't know if I could answer your question well, but if you want to look at it, okay, well, there's a client in front of
I
me, I don't know what approach to take, then I would say go for the approach give them as much result as you feel you can give, let them experience it. Maybe they need more, maybe they need something else, but that will be revealed in due time, is what I would say.
hmm. Yeah, my other question, I mean, yes, you did answer a part of it. My other part of the question was, I know it is a very stupid question. I mean, I don't know if I'm framing it right, which is real, which is not real.
Mhm.
But let's assume, okay, let's take my case. My case, I don't want to give anybody's example. Like, for example, I come in picture and I talk about, me constantly having an unavailable partner and all of it. You, as a trauma-informed therapist, you go back and you take my history and you're like, Pratna, how has it been with your parents, your maternal grandparents, paternal? You take that history.
Mhm.
Now, again, when it is now, let's say I go meet Harpreet and she taps into the Akashic record and she says, "Oh, you know what? It was like this in the past, in probably your previous birth or whatever. This is how it is in your book of records, and that is why it is now."
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I don't know if real is the right word, but which one do we actually take? For me, a trauma informed feels a lot more logical because, yes, I have witnessed it in this birth,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not saying Akashic is wrong. I've gotten multiple Akashic record readings done. I'm not saying it is just a question that I'm throwing to you.
I understand. I'm not an Akashic
Yeah.
reader, so I don't know. I have done many Akashic
No,
readings.
it's just an example that I'm
I
giving.
don't know. I've got it done for myself, so I know what you're talking about. Like मुझे idea है उसका, but I'm not one who can give a reading.
Harpreet,
So
I'm sorry, don't get me wrong. It's just a
no, no,
I'm
that's okay.
asking.
That's okay. It could be chakra healing, if not Akashic. कोई दूसरा नाम हो जाता है. It's fine. But
Anything.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
anything. But like it's see, I can only give my perspective, right? And this is from my own learning, my own experience of working with people for quite some time now, and also what I have learned from different mentors and people who have helped supervise my sessions and shaping my process. And let's say if we are giving an answer through the lens of chakra or energy work, or we are giving an answer through the lens of, let's say, past life regression, even if I have a past life because of which I am having unavailable partners now, or I have a record that says, there have been multiple lifetimes because of which you're still carrying it, right? Okay, that if that helps me feel softer about it, if that helps me feel like this problem has a solution, and this is how it is, there's an answer here, right? And what I need to do, maybe it helps me open up to whatever recommendation the person gives. So the Akashic reader will give certain remedy or method. Let's say if you go to an astrologer, they will. If you go to a regression therapist, they will say, okay, let's do this ritual where you honor this past life or ancestor, whatever. So if I'm open to doing it, it helps me. Okay. You know why? I'll tell you, because our mind is not governed just by the conscious. We also have the layer of subconscious. We also have the layer of unconscious. So a lot of the times when people have come to do past life work with me, they ask me, is past life real? Is it not my imagination? क्या मैं खुद देख के बोल रही हूँ? These are common questions. So I tell them, maybe you're imagining. Okay. Why is that not real? Maybe you are imagining it, but how come it's not real? There is something your mind is showing you. There is a projection of it in your mind, right? Think of God, okay? Like, let's say God is a state of being, or maybe a state like an energy. But we are, the different religions is what it is. It's a projection of our mind. Oh, Devi or Krishna or Jesus. It's a projection where they embody certain qualities, no? Right? So our mind, our unconscious projects or gives us clarity through symbols and visions. Okay. And therefore, the process that is involved in past life healing can really help us work on elements that could be part of our own shadow. Right? I had
Hmm.
a client who used to keep getting vivid images of like hurting their mother.
Your
Okay.
voice is breaking. I don't know if it's just for me or
Is
for
it just is my voice okay? No, it's breaking. Okay, I'm just putting off the camera for a bit.
it's
Your voice is okay.
Yeah. Can you all
Nidhi, your
hear me
voice
now?
is fine. Your voice is absolutely fine. Yeah.
Okay, okay,
I
okay.
think so maybe.
Yeah. So what I was saying, that I did have a client with whom, we were working on this issue of like she seeing images of like violently hurting her mom, right? And there is no sort of answer based on present life. Okay, but she does see it. So the ancestral or the intergenerational lens will say that this is an ancestor story which is somehow not processed, and you are sort of carrying it. It's not showing up physically in your life, but it is manifesting as an internal state, like in dreams or in visions, right? Or getting suddenly an image. Okay. Past life will say maybe there it is from a life.
Hmm.
Yeah, maybe it's from a lifetime. That's the answer they will give, because they're not convinced with this answer. Or maybe because past lives exist. I'm a past life practitioner and I cannot tell you if past lives are real or not. I can't. How will I prove it? I can't. But what I can tell you is that this person has a real issue of getting these images. And we need to help them because they are seeking help. So, what can help them process it? Either you tell them that this is
Hmm.
an ancestor story or a past life. Let's go for whatever comes forward. And we ask the client to lead, because we are the expert in the solution, they are the expert in the problem. So we ask them, does it feel like your own
Problem.
story, or does it feel like an ancestor story? They will tell you, this is like my ancestor story. Okay, tell me, what do you see? What happened? Ultimately, we are helping the unconscious process something painful, right? And bring a closure to it. If you look at it from a psychoanalysis approach, then it will tell you that this person has either suffered abuse, violent abuse, seen violent abuse, which they don't clearly remember. It has been repressed, and now it just shows up as visions. Nonetheless, we have to help them. But if we keep coaxing them, okay, no, no, think about your childhood, there must be something, there must be something, they might resist. Whereas if they go to a past life practitioner, it heals for them.
Hmm.
So the medicine is in what will help me accept and process these painful aspects of mine so that it doesn't carry forward. The question you're asking, Pradna, I have asked many times,
Got
but
it.
everybody will give you a different answer. Somebody else will give you a different answer than me, and you will be more confused, maybe. So, I, therefore, in my own life, I have changed my perspective.
Yeah, I haven't gotten an answer until today.
Yeah, yeah. Different people will give you different answers, because that's the perspective which makes sense to them or suits them. They can feel it, right? All modalities are valid, all approaches are real, what is important here is that what can
No,
be done.
because one of the reasons.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, your voice was breaking, so I didn't know if you were
No,
talking or
no,
not.
tell me. Yeah.
So, one of the reasons, okay, I had this question this popped up, I think probably 3, 4 days back, but again, I forgot. And because Harpreet asked again, I got reminded. So basically, there's this friend of mine who's learned Akashic, and she's charging at a very small price, and she's doing it for people for her to practice. And she was like, Parth, why don't you ask about your relationship with mother? But in the present life, I know why is it like that, and I have seen the pattern with her mother, my mom with my nani, and I've just seen it. So I over here, I logically know this is the reason. And on
Mm.
the flip side, she's like, let me do the Akashic records and find out why it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I know it. Huh, chalo, I'll still find out. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, fine,
So
good.
I
So,
suspect that you will see some things which are similar to what you're experiencing now, or the reasons why certain things have happened to you now. Okay, you will
hmm,
witness a similar theme. That I think I can tell you, right? But like
oh,
a different practitioner or a different expert will give you a different answer for it, and maybe a year down the line, 2 years down the line, I will have a different answer for you. I don't know, right? Because I might learn something different, or I might end up working with a client through which experience I get the answer कि अच्छा ये है. Then I might be
hmm,
able to answer you. So everything that we are learning is, of course, based on the experiences of the many different people. And
hmm,
we have put all this in a world which is structurized, right? There's also an element of selling and marketing. We cannot forget it. That's why I've told you कि उसको थोड़ा pinch of salt से लेना है, right? So everything has many different filters uske through we sort of receive the information. So I understand where your question is coming from, but um I have tried to stay on the track of being a therapist, that okay, I have all these questions about these various modalities, or what makes sense, what doesn't. But if I am only going to look at it as a coach, as a therapist, what approach do I want to keep? It doesn't matter. What matters is that what is going to help my client receive the results. So मैं उसमें हूँ. I am standing at that polarity, let's say. Somebody else will stand
hmm.
somewhere else. You might have to find your own space.
Yeah. Who
Yeah.
knows? Maybe after 2 years, I'll just laugh at all of these questions.
Maybe,
Just
maybe, maybe. Okay.
Chalo, thank you, Suniti. Thanks for your time. Bye.
Welcome.
Suniti, can I just add something to it?
Yes, yes,
From
yes. Please go ahead. Yes,
So
yes.
Suniti, at the time, like when I was working with Ophelia being a therapist, so what happened every time I was going through that past life, so because she was an inner child healer, as a therapist, so
Yeah.
she was trying to bring me back to the inner child, and which was very constructive for me because it was like someone bringing me back to that area, but I'm able to see the glimpse of some other area. But again, it's like वापस आ जाओ. So at times I feel that as a therapist, I'm just saying because from the experience as well, um, when you're with a client, like you said very beautifully, you said ask the client क्या पता उसको क्या समझ में आ रहा है. Maybe somewhere his subconscious mind is relating it to the intergenerational trauma, or maybe some ancestral lineage, or maybe
Mm,
could be an akasha, something that within him he strongly and from the core knows where is it coming from, right?
mm,
So
mm,
हम लोग क्या करते हैं as a therapist, if I'm just an ICH or cord cutting healer, we try to bring them back into our boundary,
mm,
our area of work, क्योंकि हम we are more comfortable, तो हमें लगता है कि कहीं ये बाहर ऐसा ना चला जाए कि जो मेरे कंट्रोल के बाहर हो, or which I don't know how to bring that person back, so I just try to in a way restrict or confine that person in my area because I have knowledge of that area. So
yeah.
at times I feel कि वो क्या हो जाता है कि then that the client is not able to grow. He's not able to speak. Somewhere we are restricting him somewhere क्योंकि that strong connect जो है.
Mm-hmm,
So at times I feel because I've experienced it with the clients as well. So I said when they're going with that flow, that strong flow,
yeah.
I think at that point in time we just need to be good listeners and hold that space for them. कि वो
Yeah.
जा रहे हैं,
Yeah.
just hold that space for them. And कई दफा क्या होता है कि you don't have to do any work as a therapist. because just being in your presence with that space that you're giving, because he feels that, oh, someone is at least listening, someone is not doubting me, someone is not judging me, to
Yeah.
let me go in that realm wherein shayad maybe the family member says, what are you thinking, are you mad? So he again confines. So as a therapist, again, when we confine it to our own modality, we are
Mm-mm.
not doing any good to that person. So I
Mm.
think at that point in time, let it go with that flow,
Mm.
because that solution will come to him on its own. But at the end, you can close it with your own things. What
See,
what you want to
but
do.
don't you think, one second, but don't you think in the middle of the process, constantly letting them speak and do it, they're kind somewhere diverging from the whole uh
See,
play?
guys, I'll tell you all something, okay? This is again two different therapists with two different approaches, right? One believes in one another believes in another. I have to tell you all, I am not for everyone. Pratna, you are not for everyone. Harpreet, you are not for everyone. Okay. The right people will find you because either they will resonate with what you're saying or they will resonate with the process that you want to take through. Right. There are so many trainers who will teach you something similar that I might be able to teach you, and you will want to pick them over me, or you might pick me over them. Right. It depends on what approach you want to take. Right. So some may feel like it's okay to look at whatever the client is coming in with, so previously when I didn't know many approaches, but it was still that my basic training has been that, like the client is the expert in the problem. So I have still held space for the client and been like, okay, let's say this is a past life. Okay, how is it impacting you now? Let's see if we could end this story, bring it to a close, right? Okay, what can you take away from it now? How will it change you today when the reality of the matter in 3D is that your father is like this, your mother is like this? Yeah. See, I have to tell you, you can't really bypass four things. Okay, because they are very real and rooted and grounded. And आप कोई भी approach ले लो, these four things will show up. That is the body. क्या हो रहा है? Okay. Your own experience in your life, which is your inner child experiences, mother and father. Even if you don't have parents, each of us, we have a mother archetype, father archetype, right? And usme void hoga, to we will end up manifesting the same thing. See, if you work with someone who has never met their parents also, you will see that they have unavailable partners, or they also are facing certain patterns which are related to mother or father one respectively, because we carry that inner archetype also, no? So in my experience, you can't bypass these four really. You saw at some point you have to come back to it. Okay. However, like I said, everybody's approach and belief is going to be different, right? Okay. Okay.
Thank you,
So,
Suniti.
welcome. Also, this is an intellectual masturbation, guys, where we want to stimulate ourselves by asking more and more questions and diving deep into it, which is very satisfying in a group of coaches and therapists, I must tell you. But yeah, sometimes it can be endless. Okay. I see Payal's hand and then Ophelia's. Payal, I'll go with you first.
Yeah, hi ma'am.
Hi. Good evening.
Good evening. So ma'am, this is from yesterday, day before. I had this client who had come over and I took her through inner child healing.
Hmm.
And earlier also I've done inner child healing with her, but it was like, she'd come up with a huge response and there was catharsis and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But day before when I did with her,
Hmm.
take her to the park,
Hmm.
and she said, "वहाँ पे sports day चल रहा है." And I haven't come first, I've come second and third place.
Okay.
And I asked her, what does this 42-year-old, I asked her in her mind's eye, just see the whole scene again. And what is the worst? So she said that I'm feeling fearful
Hmm.
that I lost. And then I asked her, she said, I'm feeling lost, I'm feeling upset.
Hmm.
And then I asked her, what would she like to do? And she said that after that, that girl just, inner child just stood and smiled. Then I asked her if she's ready to integrate. She said yes. And what decision did they take? That I'll be more happy. I choose to be more strong. I choose to be more happier, more joy in my life.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
my question here is that after this thing got over, in my mind, I felt कि कुछ नहीं हुआ. Like I felt it was everything was so simple. I mean, coming from such bruised background, like she has such a trauma-led childhood. I
Yeah,
said, "अरे ये तो कुछ भी नहीं हुआ."
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I understand your question. So yes, there can be two facts here, two truths. Number one, that actually kuch nahi hua, and the session was done in a very cognitive manner by her, where you were asking her to maybe explore or see through her mind's eye, and she was just following the lead. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's supposed to resolve now, so it's resolved. Sometimes people do it very cognitively because to really experience and go through it is, it's too difficult. So you may have to come back to this topic once again later at some time, like give it a few weeks, maybe work on some other goals that you'll have, and maybe you can just have like a short discussion and see if this is still an issue, or if just observe if जो complaints इस session में आपने specifically target की वो बार बार आती हैं क्या. So this is one way to sort of keep in mind that I don't think this session went the way it could have, right? So if you as a therapist are having that, don't dismiss it, but you don't have to charge the client, or you don't have to really confront them about it. You can sort of be like, okay, I'll just see if this recurs in any sense, right? That could be a one. And the other explanation is that it could have been that simple, Pile. Sometimes, we like to believe कि complex है तो, like complex trauma है तो complex होगा solution, which most often is, because there are so many layers. You have to sort of go back to things again, or you resolve something, but somehow it comes back again in another area, and then you have to work on the same pain from a different lens. Hota hai. But in few cases, few times, it's simple. It's like this is something they may have replayed in their minds, or when they are on their own and frustrated, this is the memory that comes up, and they've already like vented in front of a mirror, or they've already like written a lot. Or sometimes, when they are crying, they are seeing that image happening, and they're like, no, this happened to me, why did it happen? So at some point they may have internally done a lot of work in acceptance कि मेरे साथ ये हुआ था and it was painful, etc., etc., so that now when they get a supportive nurturing environment with a coach who's gentle with them, there's a sense of safety, you can explore it. कभी कभी फट से भी हो जाता है, where they just needed another person, another third party to witness and hold evidence for the fact that this has happened and now I have overcome it. So sometimes it is simple, right?
Got
You can check, you can always check. If you are not feeling, if you are feeling off, then it's fine, check with it. And you can't really 100% know till they don't give you permission, right? So you may check with it, and they may say that I it's fine, I don't have that problem anymore, it has resolved, and they may come back after a year with the same issue, right? Sometimes it also happens that when I have worked on one particular wound, I want to convince myself कि हाँ इस पे काम कर ले, ये हो गया अब, I don't have to look at it again, I'm free, I'm done. Might not be the case. I've had clients who've worked on certain things, and then I have felt under se कि, they need more work, but you can't force it upon someone, right? You can't say like, no, you have to sit. So they've come back later and be like, no, I think I do want to look at it more in depth. I did not, right? This has happened to me once or twice, not many times, but it has. So I'm just giving you different perspectives. Check on it, see how you want to go forward. It could be either of these answers.
Got it. Makes sense, ma'am. Ma'am, we were talking about polarizing, so I'm just thinking that if I keep doing inner child work with the same client, wouldn't they get bored? Like, ये इसको एक ही चीज आती है, हमेशा यही करती रहती है.
They could, they might not, they might want to dive deeper. I have had clients who have said that "Okay, I want to do something else, right? I don't want to do inner child. It's the same thing every time." But turns out that they wanted to avoid going into childhood, right? And then this was way back in the past. So probably I was also not assertive enough to tell them that, I understand if this could feel repetitive, but we must stick to it because it's not about feeling better, it's about getting better. So, but now I am assertive enough to say that. So it's also where you are in your practice. Sometimes clients are very over assertive themselves. They will make you dictate the trajectory of the session. You have to be careful as to not to lose your own power. If you feel it's necessary, then you must stand by it, right? And you can give your pointers, and of course it's on them to continue or not. Yeah. So you can only do your part. I have had clients who've been too addicted to inner child work also, where they want to go to the next thing, next, और भी deeper जाना है, और क्या है, ये है, वो है. So some people are the opposite because somehow they feel like this is the only thing where I've had solution. I've had clients who've been addicted to doing constellations. वो भी हुआ है, like no nothing has worked for us except constellation. हर एक चीज के लिए can we keep a constellation, can we keep a constellation for everything. But it's also deflecting, like doing a systemic constellation method. I don't know if you know it or not, but most often it is done with representatives. That means others are playing it. And although it's really beautiful, it's really powerful, in my experience I have found that sometimes it could also be deflecting from experiencing and processing a painful situation on your own. So I've had clients who are like, nahi constellation karna hai. And then I'm like, no, let's focus on you. Right? We'll come back to constellations later. So you have to make that judgment call. Right? At that moment, it's you and them, and you are the expert in the solution. So you have to decide, based on what you're feeling from their tone of voice, based on their behaviors in the past, what you know about their system. If you see that this is a client who tends to avoid, then, gentle confrontation may be the key that they need.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, even if I have to do like this person's case
Hmm.
needs a lot of inner child healing because she had a very trauma-based childhood. So
Hmm.
that means 6 months ke liye, then
Hmm.
I'm moving ahead with her. I will be doing mostly inner child healing with her only because there's so much to heal.
Yeah, you can always do it creatively, Payal. You can do it through the use of a doll, art, you can do it through music, you can be creative about it, right?
Sure.
Or you can do the very traditional route of like finding the inner child, bringing it to safety. But remember, it's about getting better. For us, that is our goal, right? So it's to help them get better more than feel better. Feel better is also important, but sometimes we have to sort of, oh, ignore it. We have to be like, okay, I know this is painful, but let's see how far we can go. I know this feels repetitive, but this is a point which, if we are able to close this chapter for you, your life will take a much different trajectory. So I'm here to support you through this. Sometimes giving them this sort of a nudge is important.
And ma'am, I was like you told me last time when I was doing it with Ophelia that I was focused more on writing, which I noticed with my client that actually I was more focused in writing. So I in my mind's eye, I paid attention to look at them, both of them while I was talking. But then it was finding very difficult to write and look at them. I mean, it's a practical problem if anybody can share. Because मुझे आदत है any word that comes out of client's mouth. That's how I always studied as a kid. It has to be on my paper. Then for me to go back and reflect on it becomes much easier.
I would say, in my experience, that this is practice. For me,
Sure.
also, it has taken time to get here, where I am not focused on everything, where I know what to filter out. I'm like, okay, this is important, this is not important. It has also got to do with your own level of confidence, I feel, where you, like, maybe right now the perspective is that I need to make sure I get everything so that I can give, I can cover every part that is spoken or that is expressed.
Correct.
But it might not be necessary, where you can keep track of certain things. Like when I was observing you people, I mean, doing the practice, honestly, I'm here, I'm sipping tea, I'm listening, I'm typing, there's something on the phone. I was like doing few other things also as I was observing sessions, but I was remembering things that the client shared, because you get a sense of hearing after a point. थोड़ा automatic होता है. So with practice it will definitely come. It might be with your own confidence also. So you can maybe just work on your own belief, that what do I believe about this writing thing, right? Do I believe it's 100% necessary? What if that was not true? What if I needed to listen and I could be sure that I will catch the important points and I will write those down? That will help, because um see, again, I'm your facilitator trainer here, so I'm giving my inputs. Alankritas might be similar but might be different as an answer. Someone else is different. But in my experience, I feel clients like to be heard and seen, and they like to witness it. Matlab, when they look at the screen and you're looking at them, they see it. So I think that also brings in a sense of safety. Let's say एक sense of safety है where you feel like okay, this person is focused on me, right? So sometimes I think that will supersede the writing part. You can always make notes after session.
No, but you're right, ma'am. This is coming from my childhood because I was taught by my दादाजी that जो भी लिख के पढ़ोगे वो हमेशा याद रहेगा. We have such thick registers, so I know exactly where it's coming from. I just need to work on it now.
Yeah.
Have
मतलब
to make
in
yeah.
this work याद रखने से अच्छा है कि हम at that moment उनके साथ present रहे.
Present रहे. Correct. That's more important.
Yeah.
I will definitely work on this, ma'am.
But Freud would have told you कि make as many notes as you want because when it came to him, he never faced the client. The client used to lie down and just speak, and he would be at the back. So he used to.
Okay.
So everybody will have a different approach.
Correct. बिल्कुल. Ma'am, you spoke about doll, IC healing with doll and
Mm-mm.
music. So
Mm.
music, I think I'll manage, just to put music while somatic work to release
Mm.
it,
Mm.
which
Mm.
I've done in the past for
Mm.
movement. But doll के साथ आप बता सकते हैं मैम कैसे करें?
Doll के साथ is even easier. Instead of a pillow, you use a doll. That's the easiest replacement I can give. You can get your client to buy a doll to do this work, a doll that can represent their inner child or some kind of a toy that they wanted. And now when they purchase it, it's indulging the parts of themselves that didn't get what they wanted. Okay. And there are more ways to creatively use it, which I will teach you, Payal, when you come for my inner child.
Sure.
But yeah, you can creatively use it. You can also draw stuff and then make them cut it out, and that could be like a symbolic doll or something.
But it wouldn't work other way around, no, ma'am. Like if they
जैसे
happen to, मतलब अगर I'm just thinking aloud, अगर मुझे बोले कि मेरा inner child को, to have a structure and to
yeah.
keep it in front of me, I wouldn't be very comfortable, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, could be. So you will have to see with them.
Correct. If
So
they are comfortable.
when I am working with clients, I also tell them that I would like you to keep a pillow, right? Sometimes with certain clients, I see that, how are they behaving, right? Some clients you will see when they are in the inner child experience, they are very childlike. Their voice will become childlike, they will cry that way, their body language, like if you're observing them. So then you could explore this after the session with the client that would you like to get a doll, which would be a good thing for your inner child also, and plus we could use that in the healing process. Okay. And only in the session it represents the inner child, outside the session it doesn't. Only
Okay.
the session ऐसा कुछ. Or else if you see that they are too rigid, like inner child, they are speaking as a 6-year-old but they are talking like a old adult. Okay, so then maybe sometimes a doll or a toy helps us bridge the experience के इसको mentally नहीं करना है, feel करके करना है, to feel it and to do it. So then also I may suggest it. So it's good to have these conversations with your client. Usually when I onboard for 6 months, and I also have calls with my clients in between, because sometimes जो goals हम decide करते हैं उसका trajectory change हो जाता है, या फिर I start feeling like what we decided in the beginning, like the issues have nothing to do with it, like there's so much more or it's something else only. So in when it comes to those clients, I keep mid sort of mid container calls, half an hour calls where I share my concerns with them. If I feel like they need more body based work but they're resistant to it, so I may have an additional call where I encourage this, where I speak to them, okay, I feel like this sort of a flow will help you better, would you like to do that, etc., right?
Correct.
मैं वैसा करती हूँ, but your approach is your own.
So ma'am, I was just coming to that only. अभी जैसे हमने ओफिलिया के साथ और मैंने रूना के साथ किया था. So now if I have to continue with ओफिलिया, what is the next step that I can take with Ophelia?
So,
Because
see, with
how
Ophelia,
can I, if I have to do it for 6 months, and suppose today, that day was my consult call with her. So, what will I plan for her for the next six
so
months?
see, that day was not the consult call, Payal. That day was a
Okay.
session only because consult call, you would have taken the history much more in depth. You guys would have made the goals, right? You would have also spoken with her about what are the concerns. Okay.
Okay.
And then go forward. तो ये consult call तो है नहीं. You'll have to look at the first two classes to look at consult calls once again, okay, from the recording.
Yeah.
The second thing is that with her, you can follow up in terms of like, how are you feeling now? Do you feel similar issues come up? Have there been situations or circumstances where you had to have similar communication? And usme was it what we did was that helpful, not helpful? So sort of taking like a feedback for 10-15 minutes and then going forward with like, where would you need my help? Let's say we have a second session. So where would you need my help? So either the client says like, oh, whatever we worked on, it's solved. I want to pick something else. Or they say, okay, after we do the session, I realized there's more to it. Because we had not covered mother
Hmm.
in that call. Or there were other inner
Oh,
child
the
experiences.
stepfather, yeah.
हाँ, तो आपको तो याद है ना वो कि मतलब मदर हमने कवर नहीं किया, शी वाज अ पिवटल एलिमेंट, सॉरी प्रोमिनेंट एलिमेंट, एंड देन वी डिडंट कवर अदर इनर चाइल्ड एक्सपीरियंसेस into which she was about to go, but
Correct,
because
correct.
we had to contain the session, we stayed with one. So maybe you can explore the other inner child experiences, more prominent focus on mother this time, right? But client के साथ बात करके ही पता चलेगा, पायल.
And
That's
ma'am,
what I
उसको
believe.
I can't make a thing for 6 months. Like, okay, you need 6 sessions of inner child, 6 to 10 sessions,
You
mother healing
can't.
for,
You
father healing
you
for.
can't. You can't make
You
it because,
can't make it like that. Oh.
yeah, because you have not done a consultation with her. What you
Mm.
have done is just a session with her, no?
Inner child healing.
Like,
Like
yeah.
for Runa, I had done a consult call plus
Okay.
inner child. So
Yeah.
she told me a lot about her mother, of the trauma that she went through as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And Runa, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm.
And after that, till now that, she found it difficult to have a connection with her. So I felt, okay, she needs mother healing. Like, it is 4 sessions.
You can suggest them to her. You can suggest them, but I would like ideally say मैंने रूना वाला observe नहीं किया है.
Correct.
So I would say that if it comes to Ophelia, if the client was her, let's say, okay.
Correct.
So then I would say, okay, we did a lovely single session. I wanted to know how you're feeling. Would you like to come in for a consultation where we go in depth into what are the issues you are facing, and to do a deep dive and make a goal chart and go forward from there.
Okay. तो मैम एक रफ गोल चार्ट का मुझे आइडिया देंगे मैम इन केस हैव टू मेक इट फॉर
मैंने
फ्री.
भेजा है.
गोल चार्ट आपने
हाँ
भेजा?
हाँ, ग्रुप में है, एक बार देख लो.
आई
ग्रुप में
नॉट.
मैंने सब भेजा है. गो थ्रू ऑल द मटेरियल्स वंस अगेन गाइस. इफ यू ऑल फील यू नीड समथिंग मोर, देन आई विल क्रिएट इट एंड सेंड इट इन द मंथ ऑफ जून व्हेन आई हैव टाइम. बट फ्रॉम आवर साइड आई थिंक वी हैव गिवन एवरीथिंग. सो
No, I
जस्ट,
have gone through it, ma'am, and I think there's a lot, but I missed
yeah,
out on the goal, so I'll have a look on that.
yeah, just take a look at it, okay? I have sent.
Or ma'am, ma'am, once the client feels the relief, they won't have that problem again and again, is what I'm assuming. That's the litmus test, right? If you worked on something, that thing will not charge you. Or that's the litmus test.
90% yes.
ठीक है.
10%, I don't know. Because it also depends on what issue they are taking. If it is something which is situation specific, matlab, I am having this conflict issues with my mother where these are the things that I feel and I can't experience XYZ and I live with my mother. So then there's a constant litmus test. Okay. But let's say you don't stay with your parents. मतलब वो कहीं और ही है. There's no trigger point, right?
Correct.
But when we do meet, it's such a huge clash that I felt like I wanted to work on this problem. Then it's a different thing. So, for example, I'll tell you, I've worked with people who are not in a relationship. Okay. They want to get into a relationship and they have had really painful relationships in the past. So, we worked on the past painful relationships. We worked on childhood patterns of why such relationships were manifested. We worked on mother or father and the dynamics between them, राइट? पर जब तक एक न्यू डेटिंग सिचुएशन में नहीं जाएंगे तब तक 100% आई कांट कमेंट, right?
Good.
So I tell them this, that we have to face the situation also, and then you will have to come back to me and let me know. So a lot of issues will be resolved, a lot of triggers will be resolved, a lot of the fear or the trust complexities or betrayal pain, whatever, if they've been cheated on, all of that, a lot of it will be better. But if they are actually able to move into a dynamic with somebody, then only time will tell. So I have worked with many clients like that, where they have worked with me for 6 months, then there has been a gap, then they've come back for 6 months, then there's been a gap, then there's come back for 6 months.
Got it.
Yeah.
And मैम आपने इसमें लिखा है कहीं पे नर्वस सिस्टम रीवायरिंग मेथड यूजिंग नर्वस सिस्टम रीवायरिंग. What would that be? The tool आपने tools and techniques में लिखा है.
Nervous system rewiring is when we invoke the neuroplasticity capacity in a client. Okay, that means earlier there was a particular chain of thoughts and feelings that would arise, like let's say a situation would happen and that would trigger me, and I would react in a particular way, which would follow by certain, which would be accompanied at the same time by certain beliefs and feelings, right? Okay, so that is a particular pattern. Okay, now we are doing a rewiring where we are trying to change that. So you can make the change at thought level, you can make the change at emotion level, you can also go into the crux of both and work on the body level, where we introduce something called as a mismatch experience. ओके, सो मिसमैच एक्सपीरियंस क्या है कि पहले मैंने जैसे एक्सपीरियंस किया उससे इन अ अलग वे में अभी एक्सपीरियंस कर रही हूँ. This is little complex. This is memory reconsolidation work, okay? Which we do in somatic also, we do in inner child also, okay? But we do something called as a mismatch experience. Example, while if you look at me, let's say you go into an inner child experience of where your grandfather is telling you that you have to write down everything, then you will remember. Versus now, I take you, that adult pile, go to that inner child, sit with her and tell her that if you don't write everything also, nothing will happen. You will not
Still
fail.
intelligent.
Yeah, so you can softly talk to the inner child, bring her out of that situation, and help her see that the studies are not that difficult. Okay, or if it is difficult, I am there, the adult is there, right? And to make the writing part a bit easier, to help her have confidence and decision कि मुझे क्या लिखना है, मुझे पता है, मैं decide कर लूंगी, right? So now we are going back to the same memory but in a different sequence.
Correct.
तो उसका फ्लो अलग है, उसमें हमने एक दूसरा एलिमेंट डाल दिया है, तो फर्स्ट फर्स्ट वे से अलग है ना ये, इट्स अ मिसमैच. So this gives us an opportunity to create a new way of perceiving, thinking, feeling, etc. That is the neuroplasticity. And the more we repeat it, which is the homework that we do, repetition of the exercises that we do, it becomes stronger and stronger. This is that nervous system rewiring. It's the neuroplasticity only, not just of the brain, but also of the body. Okay.
Got it. मैम एक ऑफर लेटर में आपने पॉइंट लिखा था, वो मेरे को आपसे चेक करना है.
Offer letter?
मतलब जो हम उनको देते हैं ना, आपने आपके उसमें भेजा था.
हाँ.
उसमें because I was making for my clients based on what you had sent.
Onboarding, you mean onboarding?
Correct.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding that, but
Please ask.
or if you want to finish with someone, I'll get back because वो मेरे सामने नहीं है वो paper.
हाँ, ठीक है. Okay, I'll get back to you in some time.
I'll just open that and come back to you.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, welcome. Did you have any question?
Yeah, I wanted to actually share that the question got clearer in my mind, and through all these conversations, I got all my answers. So thank you. What I found powerful in context to my experience with Harpreet is that shifts can come from any method.
Yeah.
That put certain questions, certain doubts. It cleared certain doubts. Okay. Second is, if I have a certain dominant way of modality that I feel comfortable in and confident in, but my client is also a coach and feels more comfortable to go in a different direction. I recognize that in the session, so I was able to hold space for her to take it forward.
Mm.
So that also helped, and I'm guessing that's okay
That's
in these
okay.
single sessions where we have single sessions, right?
Yeah, that's okay.
And yeah,
However, I would like to say that they have come to you for the one-on-one. That means
right.
probably the modality that you or the approach that you have will benefit them, because here you hold the objective eye and they get the chance to be a client
Mm,
where they can open up in their vulnerability. They can share things and they don't have to logically understand what's going on with me and constantly switch between being a therapist and a client, therapist and or a healer and a client,
mm.
right? So instead, they
Okay,
can surrender and be there. So, in some point, maybe it's important to help them say that I know you want to look at it from a past life view, but what if we could shift the lens and look at this, right? We
okay.
will only go as far as you are comfortable with, but I don't want you to avoid it.
Mm,
Okay, so
okay,
know that you have the objective stance here and take an active directive lead. No problem. Go ahead.
okay, okay. And the third point, which again got clearer for me, was we were able to break down this symbolic aspect of the pain of whatever was the core issue, which we were both able to recognize, right? A blockage. Um, so using description and really making that clear, we were able to take it forward from there. So I feel like that's something I'm not, I have not used much in my experiences. Does that also happen sometimes in practice where, I may not be good at something,
Mm,
but maybe the client is, because I recognize that the client was able to feel comfort by
mm,
describing whatever the pain was.
mm. So you went ahead with it. Like you mean to say that, okay, I've not learned it, but I went ahead with it. Is that what you mean?
I don't
Uh,
know if my
am I
question is
audible?
clear.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so sorry guys. I think my internet is just doing little fluctuation. Is it better now?
Yeah, yeah, you're audible.
Okay. Okay, so I wanted to know, okay, did I understand you correctly? Okay, I don't know the method of doing this, but I went ahead and still did it because I sort of felt called to it.
Yes.
That?
Let's say that I could say that. Yeah, we
Yeah,
can say that.
yeah. And you're asking me if that happens?
Yeah, if that happens, because that can happen for me in the future.
Yeah, it
And
does. It
when I
does.
feel lost, I tend to feel very confused. That's something personal.
Okay,
But I
it
didn't
does
feel
happen.
as confused in the session. I felt it only after the session. In the session, I was fully there.
Okay, okay. But after the session, you felt confused as to what? I just want to get clear on the question.
So I got confused as to, okay, so during the
Hmm.
session, the confusion did not surface so much within me because I felt like I was fully with the client, like
Yeah,
in terms of presence.
yeah.
Okay. But I had that question at the back of my mind कि मैं क्या कर रही हूँ मैंने ये चीज कभी नहीं किया है but it's working.
Hmm.
How is it working? So I told myself that let's work on that later.
Yeah,
So that is a piece that I sat with after the session. That
yeah.
was the confusion.
Yeah,
हाँ,
yeah, yeah. So what I want to say, I'm just going to keep my video off for a bit. Huh? I
ठीक है,
don't know why the internet is fluctuating.
no
So
worries.
this is called latent learning, Ophelia.
Okay,
So see, once
okay.
you become a therapist or a coach or a healer, no, guys, it is not easy to switch off that brain. Whenever you will speak to somebody, you will be making a sort of a flow chart in your mind
Hmm,
as to what are the issues this person has. It is
hmm,
inevitable, so your therapist mind is rarely off. It's
right.
a skill set which is a boon, sometimes a bane, but mostly a boon. So once you have picked this up, no, it's not easy to switch off that mind. So even if you have not learned this consciously from somewhere, you have observed it. Maybe you've heard me do it, someone else do it. Maybe you've done a session for yourself where the therapist or coach was conducting it for you, and it has stayed with you.
Hmm,
Okay,
Okay.
that's the first one. Number two, you do have skill sets of reflective questioning, open-ended questioning. So
Hmm.
your mind is able to bridge that gap and sort of take it forward because you do have experience gently encouraging people and doing in-depth exploration, right? So it's a
Hmm.
combination of both. It's like skills you haven't learned directly, but you've picked them up latently, and your brain has been able to help you put it to use in a certain context because you have had experience in the past, not only of being a therapist, but also of being a client.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a good
Thank you.
thing. It's a good thing. That's how you get creative with your work.
Hmm.
Because the world needs the Ophelia method also, na? So you get creative with the world. That's how you get. You know, I had a deja vu just now talking to you, remembering the REBT training.
Yeah. So many years ago. My
So many
gosh.
years ago. If you guys know or not,
Hmm.
Ophelia was like in my first ever training batch ever. मतलब मेरे career का first था वो. And I was so nervous. And you know, I remember her and Uday telling me, Suniti, you will do great. The students telling the train, "Okay, you'll do great." I remember that so well. That
Yeah.
was a lifetime ago, I think.
10 years.
Yeah, 10, 11 years. Oh my God. Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you for
yeah,
this.
you'll pick it up. You'll pick it up. It's not uncommon what you're asking. Okay, okay. So, guys, before I answer Payal's questions, I wanted to take you all through this document that I've already sent to the group, and it's about facilitating group sessions. Okay, so there is nothing really very much different from one on one, in the sense that, of course, we have to keep. One second. We have to keep the client's nervous system in mind, right? We have to look at the objective of the group. कि हम किस लिए group session रख रहे हैं या why are we keeping this workshop, and to of course hold space for people. So if it is something experiential where there are a lot of people, then my recommendation is that you divide your program into 2 or 3 days so that you are able to give a sense of space holding and one-on-one touch to each person. If it is a very intensive work also, then I would say that keep it for longer, right? Another thing is that let's say it's a small group, then it's better. Ideal number is around 15 people to keep. So try to aim for around that number because then you do get the time and space to speak to everybody individually in a sense and to go forward, right? So some of the things that you need to remember are what I'm going to share with you. So, first and foremost, if you are in an offline setup, then you must keep in mind the environment where you're conducting this group session. Okay, so what kind of a room is it? Okay, is it sensorily safe? That means zyada harsh lighting hai ya too much of noise is going on in the background. Would you like to add other anchors that help the person anchor in the space better, like for example lighting a soft candle, like, or maybe putting on some low music, very cozy in a way, very soft, or it could be activating in a way where the music you put brings them in a certain mood, which is your objective of bringing them in that mood, right? So one important point is to make sure that the environment is in line with what you are going to do. If you are doing a program which is at home, I usually always tell people that try to be undisturbed for these 90 minutes. Okay, make sure you have your bottle of water, make sure you have your notebook, make sure you have your pillow or whatever. I also make them, remind them of wearing their most comfortable clothes because वो घर पे हैं तो फिर you don't have that much access to their environment, of course, but you can always guide them, right? So I always tell them, okay, for that 90 minutes, don't let anyone disturb you. Keep your phone aside also, and just come here with this focus. Okay, I want to come here and do it, right? Without any other agenda. So that is extremely important. Now of course other prep तो आपको करना ही है. That means you keep ready all the materials that you need for whatever program you're conducting. And if you are doing it with a client, especially if you're going to keep a program or work on a particular workshop using expressive art or visual art, तो जो जो materials आपको use करना है, या तो आप उनको you tell your clients to get them, or some people even give clients those materials. So usually in an offline setup you can do it, you can give them the right materials at the same cost of whatever the program is, or else you make sure that they do have those materials and are sort of ready with it. Okay, then it's very important that you do your own prep, because working one on one with someone is very different than group. So for example, if you go back to the first few classes, I have talked about how you need to prep your own nervous system to show up for a call. So doing your own grounding, taking 5 minutes to sit down, settling your energy, setting an intention for the session, having your bottle of water, sipping on it, putting off your phone also, or keeping it on silent so that you are undisturbed, or you are not running between too many things while you're doing a call. And also slowing down your breath, taking deep breaths yourself so that you can come back to a regulated state, because we mirror each other's nervous system. So we want the client to mirror us so that they can feel slow and safe in our presence, instead of us mirroring them and feeling agitated or stressed कि, oh my god, this is such a huge problem, how will I help them? So it's very important that we do our own prep, which is important online or offline, whatever you are doing, right? So खुद का group हो, one on one हो, your own breathing, your own orienting, your own grounding before the session, extremely important. Setting your intention for what you want to do. वन ऑन वन में तो जरूरी है, ग्रुप में और भी जरूरी है, बिकॉज अ ग्रुप कम्स टुगेदर विद एन ऑब्जेक्टिव. So you must keep them in flow because you have set the intention. Otherwise, sometimes group sessions they go here and there and everywhere. um, I don't know the different populations that you work with, but at least when I've worked with teenagers, especially teens who have not been used to schooling. So I've worked with communities where kids don't go to school. So they are not used to sitting in one place, doing their work. They're just used to being in the floor, running around here and there. So we have to keep the intention in mind based on the audience also. ठीक है, क्या एज है, क्या ऑब्जेक्टिव है, इज इट women, is it men, right? And taking your approach accordingly in terms of what you want to cover. Okay. And then of course another thing we have to keep in mind is that every person in the room is going to come with a different sort of a what should I name it, like a different nervous system, right? In the sense that everybody's body is at a different place. Okay, so therefore when we begin, it's important to bring in an element of safety, connection and regulation, where you can start with grounding. You can invite them to notice their body, notice their breath. Okay, maybe just orient to the environment. Maybe you can give them a particular music or a beat to focus on as they breathe, and slowly bring their entire system into a particular state. Either you want to start activating them because you're beginning with something activating, or you want to slow them down because you want them to slowly open up. Whatever is your intention, based on that, keep something in the beginning so that you can get the group on the same page. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing in line with this is कि let's say आपका flow है of maybe doing some breathing, then going into journaling, and then you want to take them into a space where they are getting activated. There is catharsis, there's a lot of release work that you're doing. So make sure, number one, prep props के बारे में तो बताना ही है उन्हें, which I've already covered. And the other thing is that you make the environment that way. So remember to sit upright yourself. Okay, you can't be lazy and tell them, okay, now shout and scream and release your anger. Like, you have to be present with them. So your body must reflect it, keeping your spine erect, showing up focused yourself. Drink your water, take a break if you want for a minute before you can also wrap your head and tell them, okay, now we are moving to a more intense segment of this group work. Okay. Another thing is to use music, because that really helps in different types of work, whether you are slowing down or whether you're activating them. So explore different artists, different music. बहुत सारे आपको मिल जाएंगे nowadays, so there's a lot of option on Spotify and everywhere. Okay, so definitely use that, right? And hold on. And then we want to also establish emotional safety with simple agreements that have to be made verbally, guys. So either you are conducting a workshop or a program for some organization, so then you may have some paperwork already done, or let's say it's a group that has come to you because of an offer that you have given. Mostly wahi hoga where you are keeping some program and people who are aligned to it are showing up. So it's important that you sort of have a message of confidentiality. So for my programs, those of you who've been in any of the healing containers, you know that I generally send a message where I say, be respectful for everyone here. We are going to keep anything that is shared in the group within this group. Okay, please hold space for each other, also yourself. Avoid messaging participants each other ki acha tumhari ye story hai, work with me or do that, because we want the space to be comfortable for everyone, right? So you can definitely send these things via text or verbally assure the confidentiality, and try not to fix anything or give advice, because when they're coming in a group space, it's more to experience something with you, it's more to sort of go from point A to point B. And usually when they're coming for one on one is when they say that, okay, I have this issue and I need your perspective or your expertise in this. So for group, refrain from giving any advice. One simple thing is to ask them, okay, let's say if you could just take a deep breath, feel calm about this problem that you're facing. How would you like to work on it instead? What do you feel will help you? So giving them more of an empowered statement, right? So these are some of the things to keep in mind. Rest, I have already shared facilitation tips, etc., with you in that sheet. I will also be sharing another sheet, two sheets with you, where there are some general scripts as to how you can take it forward. So if you all have any questions on group, also you can ask me. I see Payal's hand is raised, so of course we'll go ahead with that question. But Runa, Harpreet, anything, you can definitely ask me. Okay, Payal, let's go ahead with you then. You had a query. Did you
Yeah.
find the page?
Just come, just opening it. It's
हाँ,
on only.
yeah.
मैम उसमें आपने लिखा है कोचिंग थेरेपी गोल सेशन 1 ऑब्जेक्टिव मोडालिटी अप्रोच.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's also aligning with my question, right? Like after we have to give them specific objective कि अगर हम 12 sessions कर रहे हैं तो हम वो session में क्या करेंगे, correct?
हाँ.
Correct. This is that same thing.
Yes.
So I need to understand a lot more, but I'll go back to आपने बोला ना कि
This is how I frame it, okay? कि objective क्या है, approach क्या है, modality क्या है. For example, what are we focused on? Let's say we are focused on rejection, okay, or feelings of abandonment, right? Or maybe a cyclical nature of manifesting unavailable partners. But in today's session, we are focused on father wound part of it, or we are focused on the first relationship that you had and betrayal, pain or trauma that you're carrying from it. हमें वो information कहाँ से मिलेगी? Of course, consult call me, because these are some things we'll ask for, no? Right? So, वैसे that's how I make the goal. I usually try to keep the goals a little bit flexible. Like I said, I usually decide with the client if there is a lot going in their system. I tell them, okay, even though you will sign up with me for 12 sessions, we will only plan 4. We will only plan the first 4. Let's complete that. And then in the fourth session call, yeah, in between, we'll have another call and we'll decide the next remaining ones, or we'll decide the next 4. So with some clients, no, I go bit by bit. With others, what I do is we plan the whole 6 months or whatever, and then I keep 2 sessions empty as buffer, because I've mentioned it. Usually, it helps. Anything that needs more work can be covered then, or sometimes we feel okay, we've worked on one area, but maybe it needs more and we can come back to it later. Okay, so वैसे I keep it. So make it, I try to make it customized that way, guys.
Ma'am, what I'm
So,
thinking is I will keep my modalities open. मैं ऐसे नहीं बनाऊंगी. I will say as per your goals, I'll be using these 3 modalities in general. I see, or अभी inner generation I learned from you, using somatic work, art therapy, etc.
Yeah. You
So
can
I'll
do
keep
that.
it very
You can
general.
mention that in one sentence that these are the primary modalities and a combination will be customized and used as per the goals of the session. तो आप वही कर सकते हो. So you can take the objective and then you can write about what are you focusing on in that session. Like I said, the objective can be rejection issues, and maybe today you're focusing on mother, tomorrow your next session you're focusing on father, another session you're focusing on first relationship, etc. वैसे भी कर सकते हो. So you can keep it how you want.
Correct. But I think over the years, once I gain more expertise, I'll be able to do this more precisely, but not at this point of.
Yeah. और ये जो मैंने भेजा है ना, ये this might be the 10th version of it. मैंने
Okay.
बहुत change किया है over the years. You know, I might change it later also. I'm not feeling a pull to change it at the moment, but I might change it. So these things change also, guys.
Good.
Yeah.
Ma'am, also this is good for one-on-one, but now this, if I'm doing it with a couple, like this couple that I'm doing with, how do I plan for them? I got very confused because with if I'm doing it for them,
Yeah.
every week I'm doing 2 hours. तो मैं मिनिमम 6 मंथ्स तो लूंगी ही उनको, बट वो 6 मंथ्स भी 3 महीने में खत्म हो जाएगा. आप समझ रहे हैं? So I was I'm very confused.
Okay, okay. So see, then you can have a different
Different.
package only for the couples. Okay. Now in
Correct.
couples work, no, guys, there are different schools of thought. There is a school of thought where you see the couple at the same time, as in both people at the same time, and you work on them together, and you give them individual assignments, but you work on them together. There are others who work with the couple as in the dyad, like both of them, every third session maybe, or every, yeah, so like one session with the wife, one session with the husband, third session together, then another one, then ऐसा वैसे भी लोग करते हैं, where there is individualized work as well as joint work, right? Sometimes what happens is that um, there are centers that I know where there are a team of therapists. So one partner sees one therapist, another partner sees another therapist, and then all four have session together on the joint dates, which are agreed upon. Goal is agreed upon. You know, whether it's about communication, etc. So let's say the husband's therapist is working with them for the communication issues for him, and the wife's therapist is working with them for the communication difficulties for her. And then when they do the joint work, it's more about the behavioral action part, you know, communicating certain specific issues that they don't speak about, let's say money, the child upbringing, in-laws, sex, jo bhi hai. And then to find a way not to fight but to communicate, and the therapists are more like moderators at that time. तो वैसा school of thought भी है. Okay.
Good.
There is another one which is relational therapy, where so usually you're taught that you're not to pick any side. Matlab you are with the husband as well as with the wife, both.
Correct.
Right? But there are some schools of thought where you go for one partner. Right? So you are for one person in this duo, and then the other person is more of a follow-up person, you know. So ऐसा है where let's say I have signed up with the husband, and then I do the session keeping him in mind, where we are
But I
guiding
think
the wife to
eventually
understand.
ऐसे ही होता है मैम. मतलब मैं कितना भी कोशिश करूं, one person, the wife only takes the lead. I mean, I have noticed myself eventually, she takes the lead and the session is around her.
See, that's what happens. So you in couples work, there are different schools of thought, and different therapists take different leads. You know, so the third one which I spoke of, where it is focused on one partner, it's usually in the cases of cheating. Okay, it's extramarital affair, things like that. Okay, within marriage, fraud, karna, lot of those kind of one-sided things may it's sometimes people approach. So there are different thoughts. My suggestion to you is, you decide, do you want to work with couples? If yes, how do
Ma'am, my priority is only children. I'm a parenting coach, so I'm only
then
working.
why are you working with them as a
So
couple?
because they both come together as parents, no, for their kids. Like they
Then you
both.
have to stick to the parenting topics.
I'm only sticking to
Yeah,
that, but
yeah.
because you're doing inner child for them, because whatever they're doing with their kids is eventually coming from their childhood. So now after
Right.
talking
If you are
to you,
moving to inner child work with them, then it becomes personalized work, no?
so I'll do first hour with both of them in the 2 hour session, and then next 1 hour I'm going to tell them is going to be one-on-one, 1 week with you, 1 week with the other person.
Yeah, yeah, you are the expert here, so you have to decide.
Correct, correct. Got it. So now I have to do it with them for 1 year. there's no choice of 6 months because वो 1 year package भी 6 महीने में खत्म हो जाएगा because I'll be doing 2 hours every week.
So give them a different package.
Okay.
For couples, it's, I mean, for parents, when they come for parenting, it's a different setup where you pay separately and I see you weekly 2 hours, where we work on parenting and we also work on you individually. 1 hour jointly, 1 hour individually.
Correct. So that'll be 6 months package only, no, ma'am?
3 months, 6 months, जैसे भी कर लो पर एक separate बना दो.
6 months, 2 hours each.
Yeah, so that's see, this is one couple that you're working with, but tomorrow another one comes, then
Correct.
you will be able to tell them, no, कि ये कैसा है, duration कैसा है, कितना time है, क्या है.
Correct. Correct.
You create it.
Correct. Correct. So I actually started with 1 hour, but I realized that with a couple I need 2 hours. 1 hour में नहीं होता है.
Or you can do, like I said, every third session can be a joint one.
Correct. Correct.
Parenting ka bhi, where you, when you're working with each of them individually, also you are working with them focused on the parenting. It is not for their other issues or whatever, right?
Correct. Correct.
See, parenting counseling, no, if you're doing it the way you're doing, Payal, is going to change into couples counseling. Mark my words, it's going to become a couples counseling.
So it's better I do it separate only.
हाँ, मतलब
One and
पेरेंटिंग होके नहीं रहेगा बिकॉज पेरेंटिंग में इश्यूज आते ही है ना ऑल्सो फ्रॉम द मैरिज ऑल्सो फ्रॉम द रिलेशनशिप सो विदाउट एड्रेसिंग इट तो नहीं होगा लाइक
got
यू
it.
कांट लीव दैट पार्ट सो इट विल inevitably turn into that. So rather, I'm saying instead of worrying, okay, what should I focus on? Why don't you combine it that I am giving 3 months or 6 months of parenting plus relationship work for couples, where I'm helping them with parenting. I'm also working individually with you and jointly with you to make your partnership better for your child. Something like that, yeah.
I actually end up doing that, ma'am, because कई बार उनका आपस में भी शुरू होता है, so I tell them to hold space for each other.
I don't do couples work. इसीलिए मैंने बच्चों के साथ काम करना भी बंद कर दिया है. I don't know if you're new, but I used to work with kids. Many years I've done that, but I don't do it anymore because it's difficult for me to navigate this and do other work that I love doing, like doing one-on-one work and conducting such programs, internship. I like doing these things, having these batches, talking about these things because see, I'm teaching you all, but I also learn from you guys. तो मुझे अच्छा लगता है तो I don't get time for it, So it's up to you. Either you go ahead and make it like a signature offer and you decide on the terms, or you decide कि यही couple था इसके बाद I will not do, or I will only offer one session a month for parenting, which will be only to resolve their parenting related queries, something like that.
Sure. Ma'am, अभी आपने बोला activating and slowing down, bringing the system to activation and slowing down. तो activation में आपने बोला breathing plus journaling. आगे बच्चे बस 5 मिनट.
No, activation में मैंने breathing journaling बोला क्या? नहीं.
तो मैम आप मेरे को बताएंगे एक्टिवेशन कब यूज करना, स्लो डाउन, एंड व्हाट डज catharsis mean, मैम,
Catharsis
exactly?
is release. In a simple word, okay? Simple terms.
So
When
ma'am, how do we
that
use,
release part?
sorry, activation कब यूज करना, स्लो डाउन कब यूज करना? Like slow down, you said.
When you are working with one-on-one clients, then we have to focus on up or down regulation based on where their system is locked. Yeah, so they are in freeze or they are in constant fight or flight, and then they are into fawn, right? So we have to look at the nervous system and then decide कि उनको हमें किस चीज को लेके activate करके we want to help them do the release and go through the catharsis, or do we want to help them slow down and bring them into a new neuroplasticity for their पैरासिम्पैथेटिक. नाउ दीज आर कॉम्प्लिकेटेड टर्म्स, तो वो तो आप सोमैटिक में सीख ही रहे हो. उससे अच्छा है कि यू फोकस ऑन लाइक दिस इज अ ग्रुप प्रोग्राम, दिस इज द ऑब्जेक्टिव दैट आई हैव, दीज आर द 5 things that I'm going to take my group through. I will start with this, then next time focused on this, then next time focused on this. Among these 5 steps, one of them could be on confronting some pain or overcoming some issue, right? Or healing some wound. And it is at this point where you may need to activate them, in a sense where activation is what? To get them up and running. So, hold on. Yeah, to get them up and running. So you can tell them to get up from their seat and shake. You can put music that supplements that shaking, moving around, stomping their feet, indulging in more activating breath where they are inhaling and exhaling faster, then doing slow inhale, exhale. So that is completely up to you based on what is the flow of your group. हम्म, क्या ऑब्जेक्टिव है आपका?
और मैम आपके पेपर में मैंने पढ़ा था कि व्हेन यू आर डूइंग द इंटेंशन यू हैव टू गो विद द फीलिंग so what does that mean?
In which context, which paper? So many things I have sent. You know that you can send me the questions on voice note also in the group.
Group intention में आपने लिखा था.
Hmm.
That in flow when you're setting the intention, go with the feeling. So feeling what I am intuitively feeling या क्या?
No. In what context? Like conducting a group program?
Yeah, in conducting the group program, जो इसके बारे में आपने facilitating group session.
So let's say you are conducting a group program and your topic is feminine. Okay, I'm connecting with the feminine, right? So maybe you can set an intention that today I want to help people get an idea where the feminine energy is connected in their body. And so the whole intention is set around that, and I'm going to guide them in a way where they can come back to their body and find it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, would we be having a session next week?
No, it is the last class,
This is last
but I want to actually see some of you be therapists. I want to see Ophelia, Harpreet, even Prarthana, and some of the other people who are not on India time zone actually. So I don't know about them. They've been doing the whole work through recording only, but I want to see you guys in action. So I cannot promise, but if June month will allow me, then I will put it up on the group and we can meet around similar day, similar timing, and other people can go for practice and I can observe and give pointers, and then you can also clarify other questions, any doubts, and we can have like a revision like this, right? So we can do that, but I can't commit to it. So technically today is the last call, and I'm really glad that you all joined the internship this time. It was really good. We want to keep another batch on purely clinical work, but let's see if I can keep, then I will keep it. Okay. ठीक है. Thank you so much. I am waiting for your testimonial. Some of you have already sent it. Others, you can send it across soon. And I did share the list of names for certificate. No, you all have put their names. If you haven't, then please send me the name on personal window, what you would like, and I will send across the certificates in this week. Okay? Okay. All right, guys. Any
Thank
other
you so
questions?
much, Sunita.
Welcome,
Thank you.
welcome,
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you. It was
Wonderful. I think I'll say everything in the testimonial, and but it was a wonderful space that you were holding for everybody, and it's not easy. I know it's not easy to keep a group, and especially everybody coming from their different wounds and nervous system. That anchoring that you have done for everybody कि एक ही space में रहो, it's not easy, but you've really done a very beautiful job. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, thank you, thank you. I'm really glad that you all enjoyed. I enjoy keeping internships. मैं हर साल रखने की कोशिश करती हूँ. मुझे बहुत मजा आता है.
Thank you, ma'am. So grateful.
Lots of
Really
love and
enjoyed
hugs
seeing
to
you.
you.
Welcome, welcome. Love and hugs to you guys also. If you would like me to keep an internship on a different program, like different topics, you can let me know. We can have one on energetic modules and past life and all that.
Would love to, ma'am.
Okay, I'll see how I'll keep it because here we are giving only nuggets of information and we are focused more on facilitation. So I'll see how I can design it. But if you would like it, please leave your suggestions. And of course, we'd love to host it. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Lots of love.
Welcome.
And
Welcome.
can I do another session with Ophelia? Is that okay?
Yeah, I think you guys
Please
can go
okay.
ahead. You guys can go ahead with your own practice. I will try to keep two more supervision classes if I can. Okay, it's on my mind, but I'll see when I keep. I'll put it across in the group only. Yeah. Okay. All
Thank
right, guys. See you. Take care. Bye. Bye.